having their support, it should be part of that quality agreement as well, because it's all very well to say that, they know their product, what they're producing, but should you be faced with an audit and you require additional information that you may not have at hand for one reason or another, you need to rely on them being able to provide that for you and provide it quite quickly to be able to address any questions that you have on site if you're having an inspection, whether it's remote or on site or whatever the case may be. And just while we're talking about inspections, the only other thing that I thought, because this is a very interesting topic and you can talk quite a long time about this, is, depending on the criticality of your starting material or your API, I would always, we always consider, in my experience, whether you need to do an on-site audit as opposed to just a remote desktop or a combination of, remote, hybrid, remote plus on-site, because you might be able to see whether, I think it really helps to visually see where some of the perceptions that you might have had on paper are actually true on site, and whether there are actually any shortcomings or any concerns that you may have once you visit a facility that you would want to be addressed or reconsidered or changed within your quality agreement as well, because that makes then you're really seeing and having more transparency around what your supplier is providing, what your expectations are, and whether they really do have the contingencies in place that you would hope that they do have should something happen that requires quick action.
Right. And Karla, I'll no pun intended, broaden this out to when your CDMO is abroad. So if you're a biotech needing API, drug substance, drug product, whatever it is, and the CDMO is in Europe, you mentioned the need sometimes for on-site audits to coordinate. We have a few questions, not just one, on the strategy when you're so far away. How can you work with the regulatory and quality people that are oceans away close enough to meet all these challenges, and maybe give us an idea of some of the strategies to do that?
Yeah, you can. And I think part of that comes back to, a couple of things. Your pharmaceutical quality system, in terms of what your procedures are in place for how you select a supplier or a vendor, and whether if in the first instance, because you're oceans away, before you can actually get to that place, you can do a desktop audit or phone calls or numerous virtual interactions, which have become a lot easier in recent years, to request that the relevant credentials are provided, that you're able to double check that those are correct, up to date, within the scope of what it is that you want them to do for you. And you can, put clauses in there that say, okay, this looks okay, but, we need to ratify X, Y, and Z through an on-site visit. You can schedule that, and you can say, we're tracking okay. I think we can sign you on as an approved vendor, but this is subject to us double checking, as I said, X, Y, and Z when we come and visit you within the next 6 months. So you move to scheduling a visit, pretty much straight away. And sometimes if you're not able to get there, another strategy we use is to use a QP auditor, a qualified person auditor, who in Europe can go on site and speak the language if English is not their first language, and they can audit on your behalf, or you can join as well, and you rely on their expertise and continue your communication with them to be able to deliver on the expectations of an on-site audit. Another thing that we in my experience have tried to do is that if you've got a number of suppliers that are within, a close enough vicinity, not necessarily in the same country in Europe, you'll just do a tour of all your service providers, and you'll start with one where you're doing an inspection, see if you can line up any others, where it might be your routine inspection that you're doing after, X number of years, depending on whatever your quality system tells you, how often you should be re-auditing your suppliers. and or you can just schedule a visit just to say hello anyway and touch base and just catch up and see, talk through maybe some of the challenges that you've both faced, ways that you can improve communication, and continue a relationship that is more of a, I'm a sponsor, you're a vendor, more of a collaboration, something that looks like a partnership where you're both trying to work towards the common goals that you've both agreed on. And that becomes more of a, one of your peers that you're talking to, as opposed to somebody who is far away that you feel you've got no connection with and that you can't relate to. I think it's always good to try and form a good working relationship with any of your vendors, because essentially they become part of your team, and that synchrony of all of them lining up so that you get to the end game is really important.